everyone. Welcome back to the Water Online Show. This is the business of water. We really appreciate you spending some time here with us, however you may be listening, however you may be watching, or however you may be joining us today. Thank you very much for your time. As always, I am your host, Travis Kennedy, publisher here at Water Online. I've been doing a lot of thinking recently around the topic of sustainability. Specifically related to water. And it's a topic that is no stranger to our audience, to our listeners, to the Water Online users. And it's a topic that has circulated the industry for quite a while. It's one that isn't isolated to a particular geographic region when you talk about just how global the topic actually is. So we're not talking about some small area in a state, half the country away. We're talking about how we can sustain life throughout the world. And how we can utilize the resources that we have to better the lives of every person walking the earth. And there's no better resource than water. And the good news is we sort of preach to the choir here at the Water Online Show, talking to our audience and talking to you out there. Many of you already understand the importance of water and understand how integral it is to life and the life sciences. So I brought on to the show a industry expert, a thought leader related specifically to our sustainable future. He is none other than Rob Gledhill. He is the president of Blue White Industries. And Rob, first, I want to thank you for spending some time here with us. I know you're going to have a lot of good insights, but thank you very much. And I'm just going to hit you right off the bat with a question. So if that's all right, I know our audience is anxious to hear some of your insights on this, but as far as challenges go, there's no shortage of challenges whenever you're trying to better people's lives, it seems, and no matter what facet that is, but specifically related to a sustainable future and water reuse. What are some of the biggest challenges around reusing wastewater for human consumption specifically that we're faced with these days?
Yeah, that's a great question, Travis. And very important to water sustainability, like you were mentioning earlier. And what we're really talking about is DPR, or which is direct potable reuse. And really, this is a process of treating wastewater and integrating that wastewater, that treated wastewater, into the public drinking supply. Okay, so now the biggest challenges I've seen may surprise you. It's not necessarily a technological challenge. I mean, this technology has been around for decades.
It's been a long time, right? But few have been able to innovate it to the extent of which I think you're going into next.
Exactly. I mean, the technology has been proven. We've been able to satisfy the regulatory requirements with water quality, with the effluent, or I shouldn't say with the effluent, but then the next process is the DPR process. But yeah, we're meeting regulatory requirements. And so I believe the biggest challenge for the world, the globe, to adopt more water reuse programs is public perception, or essentially community acceptance.
Talk about that some more, because I think you're right. I like where you're going with this. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our experience in California, because that's where we're based out of. Blue White is based out of California. And we've worked with a lot of wastewater treatment plants that are converting or adopting a DPR system. What we've discovered was back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when there was really this push for water reuse in California because of all the droughts we were having. And, we're importing upwards to 70% of our water from Colorado River and other sources. And there was a real need in California to be a little more sustainable with our water that we have here. Right. So there was a big push in the late 90s and 2000s. And the public response, the public reaction was not great. We lacked educating the public. That was one of our challenges. And we just said, we're going to turn this on and everything's going to be great. But the public
never that easy. It's never that easy, Rob. Right?
You're right. So the major response was, and I believe Orange County, which is actually where we're located, it's a community in California, coined the term toilet to tap, which really, really hurt that initiative, set it back many, many years, actually. And then the yuck factor term came about and really put a lot of projects on hold that were gearing towards adopting this reuse technology, or even ended the projects entirely. So it really set us back. But I believe it was a learning experience we all went through, that we really need to educate the communities about why we're doing this. You know, the natural resource is limited. This water, this clean water, right? And so, and we produce a lot of wastewater. So the why factor is important. How we're doing it's important. Educating the public, the communities, and really the results that you're getting with this treated wastewater. I mean, the results are actually in a lot of water treatment plants, wastewater treatment plants. What we're noticing is the effluent they produce after their wastewater process, it's a higher quality water than the water we're getting from the ground, from surface water or groundwater or other resources. Yes. So why not start with that water, the water treatment process? And so to wrap this up, I believe that the real challenge is not a technology challenge, not a technological challenge, although there's been a lot of advances. The real challenge is community acceptance.
And you know what? I mean, that is almost universal when we're talking about a lot of the issues faced in the water industry, whether we're talking about PFAS or LCRR, it all comes down to perception and communication, right? How can the industry effectively communicate what the answers should be and what the answers are so that the public can generally accept it and understand it? So I get that part, that perception, communication, and understanding are the keys to almost any challenge that we're faced with, especially as it relates to water reuse. So with those being the challenges that we're faced with, let's turn our attention to maybe some of the ways in the past or in the recent past that we've done this the right way and some success stories. So what are some of the case studies that have happened recently that you can think of where we've specifically addressed being able to take treated wastewater and make it safe for human consumption?
Great question, Travis. So yeah, I've got a couple examples. One community not too far away from us, San Diego. Yeah. I mentioned earlier, they were pushing this water reuse program in the late 90s, early 2000s. They struggled with the public perception and acceptance. So they did a great job changing the mindset of the communities. And got to give them a lot of credit for this. They realized how important public education is. So they really focus on public education, providing tours to the community, families and children and schools, and really being transparent about their program. And so not only that, they rebranded their reuse program and they called it Advanced Water Purification, which I think is a great name.
Yeah, right. I mean, much better. It's almost as if it shows that they're striving for the most advanced solutions they can possibly think of, which when it relates to water purification, that's important.
Absolutely. And so now the community has really switched their mindset. I also think the droughts we tend to have, like California, where we're facing a severe drought every couple of years, and we have these conservation mandates and all this, I think that also put the importance of water into perspective with the communities around us. So now, like I said earlier, the mindset shift has totally switched. Mindset has totally switched to really accept this water reuse program. And so I'm quite happy to hear that San Diego is now working towards using 50% of their tap water will now come from DPR or water reused. So that is fantastic. I think it's just, I couldn't be happier to see a water utility, wastewater utility transitioning over to using that much reused water. I think one day we'll get to 100%. So that's exciting. I got one more example to share with you, Travis.
Absolutely.
How we help the customer.
Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah. So
we being Blue White.
We being Blue White. Yes. There was a wastewater treatment plant that was adopting a new DPR, or direct potable reuse program. And they designed their system, and their system was pretty typical for a wastewater plant. You know, you had your primary and your secondary and your effluent. and it had all the coagulation process. It had the ultrafiltration, the RO systems, disinfection. Anyway, and then it goes into a little more, and then a holding tank for the water to be used as tap water. Okay, so they had this challenge of meeting the regulations, the regulatory standards. And so they called us up, we worked with them, and part of their process, they were using UV as a disinfectant, which is a great disinfectant, but their disinfection residual wasn't lasting as long as they needed to in the holding system.
Okay.
And you really want your disinfection residual to have kind of a long life so that it can continue fighting the bacteria, the viruses and the pathogens in the water while it's being held. And so we worked with them to adopt a new liquid chlorine feed system before the pretreatment to help with that. We studied it, and then they met the requirements for their new DPR system. And now they're going to the next phase to eventually open it up. So we were quite happy to work with them on that project. And now we have other projects. Well, we've had many projects we've worked on in the past, but we're seeing a lot more of them moving forward on more DPR programs.
I mean, I think you're going to. I know that a lot of these initial projects sort of started exactly where you said, West Coast, more arid atmosphere, more environment too. So we're talking about LA South and then in Arizona. So I can understand why it would sort of start there. And I'm happy to hear about San Diego, but I think you're right. You're going to see this sort of expand out from a United States standpoint anyway, expand out to all over the place, because this is an important issue, and it's not just localized to the West Coast. And the fact that we are this far ahead and Blue White is in the middle of it, I think is a wonderful place to be, not just for Blue White, but for all of the residents and the people that live in the Southwest part of the country. So, but this will, without a doubt, go full country here pretty soon, I'm sure. And Blue White will be right there in the middle of it. So that's good to hear that we have a company and a solutions provider that has a lot of experience there. I want to talk about the future for a second. So from a standpoint of wastewater and reuse, over the next 5-10 years, what do you think that holds for global water security, specifically related to wastewater reuse?
Right. Well, in the future, I'm excited about the future of water reuse. I believe you're going to see, well, as water scarcity grows, you're going to see a lot more adoption of water reuse, like you were saying earlier. Yep. It's not just going to be more localized, and it's not. I have a lot of this experience with local, water reuse programs because we are here, but we are also working with different states, different countries that are working on water reuse. Also, I will tell you, industrial plants are working towards reusing their water as well, which is another topic. That's
they have. Yeah, exactly. We can talk about that on the next segment.
Yeah, and we should.
Right.
We should.
Yeah.
The way I see it is, and I believe other communities will start to see it this way too. Water is too precious to be used just once.
Without a doubt.
We're so accustomed to recycling aluminum cans, glass, now plastic water bottles, copper. I mean, a lot more. Why not recycle the water we're using?
I really like that. Water's too precious to be used just once. I might actually steal that for Water Online. So anyway, go ahead. I don't mean to steal the tagline, but go ahead.
Great. I also see the future of wastewater treatment plants being designed and built with this reuse in mind.
Great point.
And I believe and an important part of that is the wastewater treatment plants are in a different area a lot of times than the water treatment plants. Mm-hmm. So you're going to see they're going to have to connect and get that infrastructure connected to make this possible. But I believe that won't be a terrible cost to absorb. And I think if you already have a water treatment plant, adding a little bit more to the treatment process, it's going to require some funds, but I think not too much to make it not worth doing, right? Okay. So I'm excited about the adoption of water reuse in the future across the globe, and we're here to help with that, as the whole industry is, as you know, Travis.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. And I'm glad that you touched on some of the specifics related to locally built municipalities and treatment plants and things of that nature, because I was going to go there next. Anytime you're dealing with the treatment plant, municipality, and anything to do with that type of thing, there's always regulatory issues that pop up. Simply because it's typically run either, if it's not privatized, it's obviously run by local government. Even some of the privatized municipalities or treatment plants do have regulatory questions, issues, and hurdles. So, what are some of those? What are some of those hurdles, and what really needs to be addressed over the next 5, 10 years to help with the adoption of wastewater reuse? Speaking specifically from a regulatory standpoint.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So the problem right now is the regulations vary significantly across the regions. And the problem is that causes inconsistencies of what's permissible.
Yep.
Confusion. Right. And we like consistency because then we there's no surprises. Right. And not only that, we have faith in the systems when you have processes, essentially is what this is. And measurements to meet, right? So that's regulations. I think it's important to develop uniform, clear, science-based standards for water reuse. And I will tell you right now in California, I believe they're adopting a new water reuse standard in October of this year. And I will tell you, it is the most stringent ever, more so than drinking water.
Wow.
So I think
really?
Yes.
Okay. October of this year, that should be 2024. October of 2024, they're going to come out with regulations and standards related specifically to water reuse that are either as stringent or more stringent than drinking water. That's fascinating.
Yep. So anyway, so I think the public, I think it'll give them more assurance when they know this as well. And it'll help the industry. You know, for better or worse, California is definitely first to do these big initiatives.
Yep.
Right. But I think this is for the better right now on and you got to be careful when you're adding regulations to a fairly new process. Again, it's not new. It's been around for a while. But you don't want to also at the same time create a wall that's so high that no company can meet those requirements, right? Agreed. Or those regulations, or maybe it just is cost prohibitive. So it's a balance, and I believe we're there. You know, I've had some industry experts kind of look over this new standard, and it's achievable for sure. Also, let me see here. From a regulation standpoint, I think we're just going to have to be more uniform and science-based standards. But also, as these communities work together, I think the government's going to have to help somewhat as they adopt these new regulations. Think about also how they can help the communities learn how safe this is to do. You know, reusing this water. And educate a little bit as well. So, but the regulation is a big one. Yeah, it's important.
But it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning, which is understanding and communication. You know, so making sure that constituents completely understand that these standards are there. They are strict for a reason, but not too strict that you can't achieve it. And it's there to keep them safe. It's all very important. And I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about your company, Blue White. Because Blue White's been leading the way related specifically on many fronts, but none more important than related specifically to wastewater reuse. So tell the listeners out there how Blue White is helping with water sustainability, like some of the specifics related specifically to Blue White in this issue.
Right. Well, we understand the importance of water sustainability and water reuse. I mean, you know, it's something that we're passionate about. It's something we hear about frequently, and our teams are investing a lot of resources in researching this technology, you know, the DPR process and what it takes to roll these programs out. And so what we're doing is we're helping a lot of these wastewater treatment plants that are adopting a reuse program or a DPR program, and we're helping them meet some of the regulatory requirements through this process. And so how we help is we make metering pumps that can accurately, effectively, and efficiently and reliably inject chemicals like disinfectants into the process. There's many stages you may want to inject these disinfectants, like chlorine or sodium hypochlorite, or PAA, parasitic acid is another big one. But also you can inject, let's see here, hydrogen peroxide. And why you would inject hydrogen peroxide, well, there's a couple reasons, but the main reason I'm talking about here is you use that in conjunction with UV. And the hydrogen peroxide and the UV will create an AOP, which is an advanced oxidation process. And this really helps too. So here we make these chemical metering pumps that will inject these chemicals into your system and help fight and keep the disinfectant residuals in the system while your DPR process is moving through. You got the storage tanks and all this. We also manufacture chemical metering chemical feed skid systems. And what these are, these are systems that include a chemical metering pump, and they also we've designed it with necessary accessories like a calibration column, so you can calibrate your metering pump and you know what you're dosing into your system. They have other things like pressure relief valves, pressure gauges, many others. So what we've done is we've designed a chemical feed solution. So the water or wastewater treatment plant can just order a chemical feed solution like a skid. It has everything they need. They just plug the inlet and outlet in, and they're dosing chemicals reliably. We also manufacture analyzers, like water analyzers. So turbidity analyzers, and this is important. And what a turbidity analyzer does is it essentially measures the solids in the water. And you really, you do not want solids in your water while you're disinfecting the water. Well, the solids can cause many challenges, right? But when you're adding disinfectant, your disinfectant is going to focus on these solids, even if they're organic and not harmful. The disinfectant is going to see this as a foreign, molecule in the water, and you want it to focus on killing pathogens and viruses and bacteria. So you want to have clean water, no turbidity, not cloudy, for proper disinfection, and it could cause other issues along the line. Another analyzer we make is a chlorine analyzer. You want to measure the strength of your chlorine, the effectiveness of your chlorine. So we offer many technologies that can help water, wastewater, utilities with their DPR process and reuse. And not only that, we're getting a wealth of knowledge because it's becoming very popular. We see in our communities around here, and now we're seeing it stretch out, as you mentioned earlier.
I mean, it sounds to me almost as if, not almost as if, but in reality, that Blue White is very much a partner in this process, and not just a company that would like to sell a specific solution. It is a company that is there. Blue White is there to help you throughout this entire process, because it is an initiative that if your local government or treatment plant that has not started yet, chances are it will in the near future. And Blue White is there to act as a partner to help you through that process. So that is reassuring, it's refreshing, and it's exciting to have a market leader and a thought leader out there being able to partner with those users, those listeners, those viewers that are part of the Water Online audience. So Rob, this has been educational for me. So I knew a little bit about DPR and how the process works, and I know that on the Water Online show we've been talking quite a bit recently about sustainability. So this really helped clarify some of the questions I had in my mind. I'm sure it did for our listeners and our viewers and the users here at Water Online. And I wanted to personally thank you for taking the time to come on to the Water Online show, Business of Water, and spending the past half hour or so with us and giving us a much clearer understanding as to what some of the challenges are, what some of the definitions behind a lot of these issues that we're facing actually represent, and then where do we go from here, which is where a lot of our professionals that utilize Water Online want to know. So where do we go from here? What is the next step? So Rob Gledhill, president of Blue White, thank you very much for spending your time here with us. We appreciate having you and really cannot wait to have you back.
Thank you, Travis. I appreciate it. This is a great topic.
And for all of you out there, we want to thank you for spending your time here with us here at the Water Online Show. If you want more information on Blue White, please feel free to visit them on their site. And also, you will find tons of information around Blue White here at wateronline.com. For all of us here at the Water Online Show, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.